submissions. In addition, please feel free to join in other various events. You just heard myself, Kunaya, and Mrs. Pursel talking about anime. We have an anime club, so if you're interested, feel free to pop in there. I know Mrs. Pursel also runs the high school book club, so feel free to hop in there for some more literature-minded things. In addition, we have the Keystone Creative Club, which is a club that does a whole slew of different kinds of creativity, including writing, drawing, painting. So if you're interested in those, please feel free to hop in and join them. In addition, later in the year, if you guys are still with us here at Keystone, we will host the National Novel Writing Month in November. So lots of cool ideas to think about moving forward, or ways that you may want to stay involved. And then again, if you have any poetry you would like to submit, I have a folder full of emails from you guys of amazing poems that you've sent. Please feel free to keep sending them in. I will accept poetry submissions up and through next Friday, which is the 5th. I'll send out an email as a reminder when I send the YouTube link. So feel free to send in more poetry if you guys would like. Again, we're very excited to be able to publish this anthology for you guys. So feel free to hop in there and submit those. But we look forward to seeing you in other events, and hope that you guys will uh, continue on with us here at Keystone. And with that, I will pass the floor over to Mrs. Pursel.
Thank you so much. We have the incorrect slide here, and that's okay.
I have it up here. Sorry.
It was, we were supposed to go last or third, and we went last. So we're just going to go ahead and go last here. Ignore that slide. She already covered it. So today we're going to talk about sonnets, and I'm sure you've heard about sonnets. I saw a lot of you were in at least 11th or 12th grade. You've heard quite a few different types of sonnets. You probably read some from Shakespeare, some from Elizabeth Barrett Browning. There's tons of them out there, and Shakespeare and Browning have pretty much cornered the market on sonnets. There's so many. So a sonnet is actually just a little song. It's literally translated little song, and it's going to reflect upon a single idea, especially throughout the first lines, and then respond or have a resolution in the last lines. So it kind of is saying, here's what I think about something, and then here's an answer to that in the last few lines. So sonnets have 14 lines, and they have a very specific rhyme scheme depending on what sonnet you're writing. And then each one uses what's called iambic pentameter, where 5 sets of 2 beats are used, the first being unstressed and the second being stressed. That sounds like so much, and that's okay. We're going to go through all of that. Yes, that's exactly what I'm talking about. There's so much going on, and they're very, very specific in what is supposed to be used and when. And I don't want to get you all too scared about iambic pentameter, because there's also something called a trochee, which is kind of opposite, and we'll go over that a little bit as well. So there are 2 main types of sonnets. One is a Petrarchan or an Italian sonnet, and the other is an English sonnet or Shakespearean sonnet. So first, we're going to talk about, we are trying to do double duty. My mistake. First, we're going to talk about the Italian sonnets, and it's modeled after the Italian poet Petrarch and his sonnets, and this divides the 14 lines into the 2 different sections I talked about, where it says, this is what I think of something, and here's your answer to it. So they have 8 lines, or an octet, that has the rhyme scheme, and it's A, B, B, A, A, B, B, A. So the ones that are all A will all rhyme the same way. The lines that are B's, they all rhyme as well. So the second set of B's also rhyme with the first set of B's. So not only do you have to figure out how to rhyme 2 words in the first part, you also have to figure out how to rhyme the 2 words in the second part. So then the 6-line sestet afterwards has a variable rhyme scheme because it differs. So you could use CD, 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 or CDE, CDE, or CDC, CDC, CDE, DCEE. I know there's so much. So maybe we have a little bit of a question here. Can anybody describe what a rhyme scheme means?
I think I can.
Please go for it.
So you said rhyme scheme, right?
Rhyme scheme. Yep.
Oh, rhyme scheme is exactly what you like. Okay, so rhyme scheme. In poems, I thought the rhyme scheme was the ABAB. Or am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong. There is A, B, A, B, but there are other rhyme schemes as well. So if you have an A, B rhyme scheme, the two A's will rhyme, and then the two
Mm.
B's will rhyme. Then if you go on to another quatrain, which is a 4, you would have C, D, C, D would rhyme, and the two D's would rhyme. But in this case, we have A, B, B, A for the first 4, and then A, B, 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 A, B, B, A again for the second. Does that make sense?
So yes, so I was gonna rhyme scheme is basically the sequence of rhyming letters at the end of a sentence.
Right. So Sarah here
In
says the pattern of rhymes in the last word of each line. So that's an example of a rhyme scheme. And we have the structure of each line that depends on the information and last words of the poem. So we're also going to go over that. So this is how we have the first 8 and then the 6 other lines. Now, a Petrarchan sonnet usually doesn't end with a couplet. That will be more in a Shakespearean sonnet, and we'll talk about that later too. But the first 8 lines, like I said, are going to reflect one thought, and then the last 6 lines are like a more of a clarification or a resolution. They can keep repeating with the same rhyme scheme. Generally, they don't do A, B, B, A, A, B, B, A, A, B, B, A, A, B, B, A. The first 8 will be A, B, B, A twice. The second 6 will be C, D, C, D, C, D, or C, D, E, C, D, E. So we have in the second section there where it has the CDs, those are different rhyme schemes that you can use. And there are 4 different rhyme schemes that you can use for that one. All right. So next, we're going to talk about those rhyme schemes. And here's Elizabeth Barrett Browning, like I said, and she says, "How do I love thee? Let me count the ways," which I'm sure you've heard that phrase before. It's used often. So you'll see the first 8 lines. Yep, meaning, Rachel, only for Italian sonnets. The rhyme scheme will change for Shakespearean sonnets. Does that answer your question? Okay, good. So in this sonnet, you'll see that the first 8 lines are in bold-faced and the last 6 are in italics. So we're going to break this down a little bit before we even read everything because I don't want to overwhelm you too much. So the first rhyme scheme we see are ways, grace, days, and praise. Those are all your A's. Then height, sight, light, and right are your B's. Notice how it goes A, B, B, A, A, B, B, A. Does everybody see that? Okay, good. I see that some of you are able to see that process that. Take your time if you need to. So we see in those first 8 the A, B, B, A, B, B, A. Then in the other 6, we have in the green, use, lose, choose. Those are C because they're new rhymes. And then in the orange, faith, breath, and death. Those are a forced rhyme because they're not perfect, but faith, breath, and death would be the next one. So that would be D because ways, grace, days, and praise are the A. They all rhyme. Height, sight, light, right are the B's. They all rhyme. Use, lose, and choose would be C, because that's new scheme. And then faith, breath, and death are the last one for D. So if you look across the bottom, you'll see what the rhyme scheme is. Does that make sense? Good, good. Are you catching on to that rhyme scheme now? Does anybody want to read this poem to everybody? Okay, go right ahead.
So just the whole thing from top to bottom.
Yep, go right ahead.
Okay. How do I love thee? Let me count the ways. I love thee to the depth and breadth and height. My soul can reach when feeling out of sight. For the ends of being and ideal grace, I love thee to the level of everydays. Most quite need by sun and candlelight, I love thee freely as men strive for right. I love thee purely as they turn from praise. I love thee with the passion put to use in my old griefs and with my childhood's faith. I love thee with the love I seem to lose with my lost saint. I love thee with the breath, smiles, tears of all my life. And if God choose, I shall but love thee better after death. That was deep.
Good. Thank you so much. You're right. It is deep. So if you notice the first 8 lines, and of course it's about love, so they have a song, a sonnet about love. So these first 8 lines here are about one part of love. So she talks about where the soul can reach, the ends of the ideal grace. And then in those italics, she really gets deep, doesn't she? You know, old griefs, childhood faiths. This is literally how much I love this person. She goes very, very deep into how much that is. So it's not a response, it's a further explanation. So there's 2 different ways to do that. And this is one that's very, very common. So that's why I chose that. So if you'll notice the pentameter here, let's see, we have, what poem is this? Pasta, part of a dream, a beam of light to give me the right to eat this delicious food. I feel that's kind of a haiku of sorts. Yeah, that sounds more like a haiku. So if you see in these lines, we have, how do I love thee? Let me count the ways. So let's break that down into what an iambic pentameter would be. So iambic pentameter is a line of 10 syllables or 5 sets of 2 beats. This is a lot again, okay? So let's break it down. 10 syllables, 5 sets of 2 beats called a foot. The first of each foot is unstressed. A foot is 2 syllables. Yep, Annabelle Lee, Rachel, you're right. The first of each foot is unstressed and the second is stressed. So you have to kind of understand how words would sound. So an iamb would be those 2 beats with it's a foot. An iamb is the same as a foot. And since there's 5 of them or 10 syllables, it's a pentameter. So we have, how do I love thee? Let me count the ways. So you can see it kind of goes, if you're sing-songing it, it's da-dum, 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 da-dum. How do I love thee? Let me count the ways. Do you see how it kind of makes that sort of beat to have unstressed and then stressed? Or let me know where you're confused and we'll go from there. Okay. So, where can I kind of help you out, Rachel? All right, what's confusing you the most? And we'll break that down a little bit more. How do we stress when we have to make the second syllable sharp? Like dum, dum, da dum. Okay, so you're going to start with an unstressed syllable as compared to a stressed syllable. So we're going to think about names. You know how to pronounce your name. So let's think about my name, Elizabeth. Eliz, Beth. So I don't stress the E, I put more stress on Liz. And then I don't stress the the A, and then I put more stress on the Beth. Rachel, that's absolutely right, because you don't say Rachel, you say Rachel. Yes, stressed is like where the emphasized letters are in a word. So we don't say pentameter, we say pentameter. The ta is more stressed than the rest of it. So if we say, how do I love, that shows where everything is stressed. You're welcome. Yeah, yeah. It is something you don't think about when you're saying things. And then if you hear somebody say things differently, like Sarah isn't the same as Sarah, we're stressing the Sarah part. All right, good. What else can I help you with? All right, anybody else? Yeah, it is something you see when you read more Shakespeare. And he does a lot of his plays in the same iambic pentameter, which is very interesting how he was able to write so much in such a strict meter, because I have a really hard time doing it myself. How do you determine when the soft and sharp symbols and syllables end and start? That's a good question. If I'm being honest, I say it out loud. So if we say, how do I love thee? Kind of sounds weird, isn't it? So if you read out, how do I love thee? Then you can see where things are a little bit more of a sharp sound, more of a stressed sound. Right, right. Yes. It feels robotic and it just sounds wrong. Yeah, that is my best advice. Just trying to say it out loud because if you're writing it, you feel like you're going to write stressed, unstressed, or I'm sorry, unstressed, stressed, unstressed, stressed, but it may not sound that way. hmm Sometimes it does sound like just everyday speech. But if you want to stress a certain word a different way, you absolutely can. That's called poetic license. So we'll come back to that if we need to. We'll go to what is an English sonnet, generally Shakespearean. And this sonnet is more common because it's more ease in writing, because it's divided into three quatrains, which are groups of four lines, and then it has a couplet at the end, or two lines that rhyme. So you're not trying to rhyme, four words here, four words here, three words this way and three words this way and just try to make everything fit together. This kind of sonnet, quatrains especially, are very easy to write because they have the two lines or the two lines on the rhyme scheme, A, B, A, B. A lot of poems are like that. And then we'll have C, D, C, D, E, F, E, F, and then G, G. So there's a couplet. Sometimes it's called a heroic couplet. It's how things turn out, how things end, basically just wrapping things up. Everything is fixed. This is also going to follow the iambic pentameter. So let's take a look at a different kind of sonnet here by Shakespeare. Does anybody want to read this one? Yeah, I love finding little Shakespeare pictures. Yep, Rachel can.
So, Rachel, next to your name in the participants list, you'll need to click the little live button, and then you should be able to unmute. Or let me see here. Yeah, you'll need to click it on your end.
Miss Blosser is very tech savvy. She helps students all the time trying to fix tech support issues.
Hmm. Because it's not eligible on my end for me to be able to toggle it on for you.
Sometimes that happens when you come into the room and then there's a little box that says accept permissions or something like that. And if you just click off of that without accepting that, sometimes it makes it so that you're not like live and you don't have permissions for those things. So unfortunate. Oh, go ahead. Let's try it. No, we didn't hear you. I see you're unmuted. Try it again.
Did she forget to confirm that her microphone and camera were working at the beginning?
That might have been it, but I saw that her microphone clicked off. We just weren't able to hear her. Oh, I'm so sorry, Rachel. Is there anybody else that wants to try? Yeah, absolutely. Is anybody able to hear? I'm not able to hear.
I can't either.
All right. Well, I guess I'm reading it for you. Thank you all for your willingness to help. I appreciate it. So, what we're going to do is a William Shakespeare poem called Shall I Compare Thee to a Summer's Day, which I'm sure you've heard that phrase before. So, it's also about love, very, very similar to Browning's poem. So, we have Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Thou art more lovely and more temperate. Rough winds do shake the darling buds of May. Bet you've heard that one before too. And summer's lease hath all too short a date. Sometimes too hot the eye of heaven shines, and often in is his gold complexion dimmed, and every fair from fair sometime declines, by chance or nature's changing course untrimmed, but thy eternal summer shall not fade, nor lose possession of that fair thou oust, nor share death brag thou wanderest in his shade. When in eternal lines to time thou growst, so long as men can breathe or eyes can see, so long lives this and gives this love to thee. So you can see here that day and May rhyme, temperate and date are a forced rhyme because we say temperate and maybe he meant us to say temperate just to make date and temperate rhyme. So that's an A, B, A, B. And then we have shines, declines, that's C. Dimmed and untrimmed are D. So then there's CD, CD. Fade and shade create E. Oust and grossed would create E. Now on fade and shade are E. And then the orange ones are F. And then C and D don't follow that every other rhyme. The two of those rhyme. Those are your, that's your couplet. Does that make sense there? Good, good. We're all able to see that rhyme scheme. So let's go over a little bit of the iambic pentameter. So we have, shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? See how we have that sort of stressed on stress. But what's interesting is we kind of force, and somebody had asked about, so we just change our manner of speaking. And yes, because Shakespeare has here, whereas we would normally say, shall I, it's shall I, because I is more important than shall. Yep. So we have, shall I compare thee to. So he has kind of a little bit different way he's stressing syllables, and that's okay. So, just a quick review because there was so much there. The rules for sonnets are they need to have 14 lines. They have a very specific rhyme scheme. They all use an iambic pentameter. They focus on one topic or idea in the first 8 lines and then a response to the idea in the last 6 lines. However, in Shakespearean sonnets, which again are kind of easier to write, we don't see that it's the first 8. We see here, yeah, it has the first 8 here has a different rhyme scheme than the last 6, but 4 have a different rhyme scheme. They are more common. And then the couplet is a completely different rhyme scheme. Yes, they're absolutely praising something. These are both about how much they love somebody, but it doesn't have to be love. It could be something with nature. It could be anything you want to talk about that you want to, like you said, praise. Yes, an emotional attachment is an excellent way to say it. So we have this, again, 14 lines. We're going to have a specific rhyme scheme, and we're going to have that iambic pentameter. Interestingly enough, I wrote my own sonnet, and I'll share it, but it's not an iambic pentameter. It's opposite, which is called a trochee. It's the opposite of an iamb. So we have, right, stressed and then unstressed. So I have here, let's see, I'll just read one line. Music blooms within your soul. So we have stressed and unstressed, stressed and unstressed, because that's how I talk. I don't usually talk in iambs. I talk in trochees, I guess, when I write. So if you want to do trochee instead of iamb, that's perfectly fine. So much like the other poetry slideshows that you've seen, we are going to try our own. You're going to pick a topic. You're going to create your own sonnet, and then maybe you'll share with us, which would be really nice if you would like to. And then there's some common themes you might want to talk about. Love, nature, coming of age, which is what a lot of you are experiencing right now as you become young adults into adulthood. There are some about death, specifically Elizabeth Barrett Browning. There's some about just being confused on things about your family, holidays that you really enjoy. So anything that's going to tell a story, you can write about. So which slide would you like me to stop on so you have kind of a reference point? The themes or the rules?
The rules.
The rules, yeah, I would say so. So would you like this one?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, I'll leave that there. Let's take a few minutes and you guys can try to write a sonnet. You may not get through all 14 lines, but maybe you can get started on something and then we'll share a little bit. I'd say maybe in 5 to 10 minutes, or if somebody says, "Hey, I'm done," we can start sharing, and you can then finish it and share it to the link for the anthology. So let me just give you a little bit of time, and you can try to write a little.
I will put up the rhyme scheme over here so that you guys have that so that you're not having to reference it as well. And just like last week when we did limericks, my biggest tip for these is to write down the rhyme scheme before each of your lines so that you can have in mind what words or what rhyming words you're going to think about. So I'll put them up here for you guys. And then I just put in the link to the Padlet. Again, feel free, even if you only have, a quatrain to share, we can help you workshop it from there, or we can read it and see how you're working with either the iams or the trochees.
I'll try, but I'm not really good at coming up with things like this. Maybe I should choose coming of age.
That's
You
okay.
were
That's what this is here for. That's why
Yep,
we're doing these workshops.
that's going to be your first step, picking that topic and thinking about what you would want to write about it. You can, yes, you can do the rhyme scheme for the English sonnets. That would be A, B, in caps lock, A, B, C, D, C, D, E, F, E, F, G, G. That's now in your chat.
those of you who are younger than me in like middle school. Whew, growing up is a lie. High
Listen,
school
I'm
is
still trying to
difficult.
grow up and I'm 39 years old. I don't know how
Oh,
to do this.
it's a little difficult.
It is. We'll try to circle back in about 4 minutes, 3:46, so maybe about 4 to 5 minutes, and see what you might have. Again, you may not have an entire sonnet. They do take a long time to write just because you're trying to have all those different rules in place. Are you willing to share in the chat or maybe as a screen share? Yeah, I do
You
like dictionary.
you should be able to see, I popped a link. I'll put it in our chat as well. Um, but they'll start posting in there, or let me share my
Okay.
screen
I see.
so that everyone can see what these look like.
I see. I see. Yes, back in the day, I had a literal rhyming dictionary. It was, a little um, hardback book. You can stick it in your pocket, and it had all kinds of words in it. And I used that because the interwebs wasn't a very big thing then.
There's a website that you use that I love. It's called
Yep.
Rhyme Zone, and so it gives like by syllables as well.
Yeah, that's what I sent for them to use. I put it in the chat.
Yeah. And the email that you can send your finished poetry to is this one. Once I copy paste it. My computer really has to think hard today.
That little red angry face is supposed to say spunk. I don't know what it's doing.
I have a filter on that takes out anything that's a bad word, and so I guess it thinks that that's a bad word. I
Don't
like
be
it with the emoji though. It's a fun take. I thought that was purposeful, and I was like, I use that emoji sometimes.
no, because she's spunky, but she's never red
Yeah,
usually.
that's very strange.
So after you post your writing, if you'd like to read it, you certainly can. Unfortunately, I cannot read mine because it makes me cry.
Hmm.
And also keep in mind that I did write mine beforehand. I spent probably 30 minutes in between different things I was doing trying to get that so there would be an example for you.
One of the things, and I forgot I did this until I started doing it today, which may help you, is I do claps when I'm writing mine. Let me post it so that you guys can see what I have. Uh, Give me a second. I have to type it. I've been using a notepad. So give me 1 second. But then I'll explain because sometimes the clapping really helps, especially when writing things like this. Okay. Wow, that formatting is really great. I'll go through and edit it. But so when I do it, and I've been really, really quietly pushing my little fingers together as I do it. Um, so, what can I do to help you through this time? And sometimes it can really help to clap it out because then you can feel it and you know that you want to emphasize that second word then. Um, and then my next line, as days go past and leave us all behind, I think of you and listen. Listen's weird, so it'd be listen for the rhyme of the song that you made for me in kind.
I love that. That's really awesome.
Because iambic pentameter is something that still spooks me. I read just about every Shakespeare play that you could write or read and have books of his sonnets, but it's still really hard. And so being able to clap like that can really help. Um, One of the things that we saw in Shakespeare's sonnet is that sometimes he'll shorten words specifically for us. We saw it with oast in his poem, and you can change the way syllables sound that way or make that choice yourself. Um,
So how did we all do? So I see here a coming of age poem. Coming of age is a journey for most, while the youth with heads in the clouds, for youth we are still a host. What a cool line there, with hushed voice in crowds. I really like that line, for youth we are still a host, because you're trying to grow up, but you're still hosting that youthful persona. I love that. Whose was that? I see. I see. You want to stay anonymous. Why didn't you jump on and read it? Same way, same reason I don't read mine. Looks like we got one more that popped up. Anybody want to lay claim and read that one? That's okay. You don't have to necessarily be done. Just keep working on it. Was that hard to write though? Good, good. So just make sure that you keep working on what you're doing for the rhyme schemes. That's okay if you're not done yet. Like I said, there's so many different lines that you need. You need 14 full lines. You have to rhyme this, you have to rhyme that, and trying to make that iambic, pentameter, or trochee if you prefer. But when you're all done, we'd love to have it in the anthology.
I would love to have a full section of sonnets from you guys. Uh, that's my goal with these. I know you guys have sent in a bunch of really awesome ones for each of the weeks. So I'd like to do sections devoted to you guys since you guys have come and submitted things. And then, of course, the additional poems. I know that you guys have sent other poems that you've made that aren't necessarily in these like four archetypes. Um, yeah, absolutely, Sarah. I will take submissions through the first week of May. So, um, if you have them to me by May 5th, that would be great. Um, but yeah, feel free. Again, it doesn't have to be one of these. The main reason that we picked these this year was these were like your intros, and they built on each other. So we did haikus first, where we learned about syllables, and then we did acrostics, where you learned how to intertwine lines. And then we did limericks, where you learned about rhyme scheme and rhyming. And then this week, we smushed them all together into sonnets. So you've built all of these really great skills. And so I want to highlight the amazing work that you guys have done. But if you've done other things or have made other poems, I know you guys have submitted some really great ones that don't meet those four. That's okay. We would love to publish them as well. This month is a month of exploration for you guys. Um, and different kinds of poems can create different kinds of emotions.
And don't forget about, free verse. It doesn't have to rhyme. It doesn't have to have, that set rhyme scheme. It doesn't have to say this has to be 14 lines. This has to be this line, this many lines. If you're interested in anything that would be a free verse, try Maya Angelou. Try looking up Amanda Gorman. Try looking up Ellen Hopkins. I love Ellen Hopkins. She does more contemporary epic poetry. Maybe get permission if you're on the younger side. Some of her writing is a little bit more risque topics. So make sure you're getting permission if you look that one up. But Amanda Gorman does beautiful poetry.
Um, Also, if you guys explore other kinds, last year I know we did villanelles and sestinas. I love villanelles. They're probably my favorite type of poem, but they're really funky and difficult to write. And so if you want to explore those things, feel free. Or if you have questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. I love this stuff. It's why I like wanted to do these things. So if you have questions, reach out or submit things, and we're happy to help or talk you through them. Because I can see that we got two more, and you guys did such a great job.
I keep reading through the ones that are coming up. You're really doing a wonderful job with this. And I can see that you have